Good morning, friends, and thank you for being here with me. I felt it was important to come on today because we have some very significant weather to go over. We will be taking a careful look at a major snowstorm that is developing for the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and parts of the Ohio Valley are also expected to be affected. Our forecast models are pointing to a period of considerable cold that will likely stay with us through at least the first half of December.
This weather pattern also creates multiple opportunities for snowfall in the coming days. Now, let us take a moment to look at the current conditions. We are continuing to track an active winter system as it moves through the area. As we bring up the map, you can see that snow is currently falling across the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the Mid-Atlantic, which has been a bit of a surprise for some communities. We are seeing this activity in parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Earlier this morning, snowfall was also reported a bit farther south across Pennsylvania and New Jersey, where some mixed precipitation is still occurring. Portions of Massachusetts have seen snowfall as well, and it has been quite heavy in certain locations. Now, let's turn our attention to the forecast models for a more detailed analysis. We will start by examining the European forecast model. Here, we can observe the tail end of the current winter storm as it gradually moves out of the region. As we move the forecast forward in time, that system does indeed come to an end. We then see some lake effect snow redeveloping, but it does not appear to be a major event. Following this, our next winter storm begins to organize. This next storm starts to take shape as early as the 1st and 2nd of December. This particular view you are seeing is for 7 o'clock in the evening on December 1st, which is just tomorrow evening. We can already see snowfall developing across the plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. Farther south, there is also some thunderstorm activity in the Deep South, which indicates this is a rather powerful system. I do expect that we will see a number of impacts from this storm. As we advance to the morning of December 2nd, at approximately 10 o'clock, we can see this system is becoming much more organized. A center of low pressure is forming over the Carolinas and Virginia. While there are still showers and thunderstorms to the south, the main story will undoubtedly be the significant snowfall occurring from the Ohio Valley through the Mid-Atlantic and on into the Northeast. Moving into the afternoon, we can observe the low pressure system undergoing a rapid strengthening. This is a very clear sign that the snowfall will become progressively heavier. The center of the storm is located just off the coast of North Carolina and Virginia, tracking to the northeast in the classic pattern of what we call a nor'easter. We can see the storm's path is certainly very close to what we would expect for a significant event. After that, yet another strong clipper system is forecast for the plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. This one appears poised to move into the northeast as the more significant snow system, helped along by a low-pressure area offshore. So, while there are variables to consider, this particular model is forecasting a good 4 clipper systems over the next 2 weeks, with another one possibly forming right after that. That storm system finally moves out of our area. Now, it is important to remember that this is the European model, which has consistently shown a storm track farther to the south than some of the other models. This particular forecast would introduce a mixture of rain and sleet for coastal cities like New York City and Boston. Its southerly path keeps the heaviest snow farther inland compared to other guidance such as the GFS and the NAM models. Those other models have projected a track that is much farther to the north. This means there is still some disagreement among the different forecasts, and we have some variables to resolve regarding who will see the most significant impacts. I fully expect that we will gain much more clarity on this over the next 24 hours as new information becomes available. Looking beyond that storm, by the afternoon of Wednesday the 3rd, we can see a little bit of snowfall beginning to organize for the Midwest and the Great Lakes. There is also some activity for the Rockies and the Plains, as you can see right here. Colder air then moves back into the region, and this is where the weather pattern becomes quite interesting. By the afternoon of December 4th, another system attempts to form, drawing from a rich southern stream that is carrying an abundance of moisture. There is certainly plenty of cold air in place to work with. When these two ingredients, the cold air and the moisture, come together, it often leads to another snow system, which is exactly what many of the forecast models are suggesting. Of course, this system is still several days away, so there is a significant potential for the storm's track to shift. But as of now, the guidance shows this storm organizing and bringing the initial snowfall to parts of Missouri, Kentucky, Virginia, and West Virginia.
This would be happening during the afternoon on Friday, the 5th. As the forecast progresses, this storm, very much like the one before it, is expected to strengthen as it moves off the mid-Atlantic coast. We then see snowfall beginning in Pennsylvania, New York, and New England by Saturday, the 6th, affecting Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, with heavy snowfall before that system finally departs. I want to emphasize the potential for changes because if this storm tracks farther south, or if the cold air is more established than we currently see, the mid-Atlantic could be involved in another winter storm in early December. This is truly a very active pattern we are in. We then see a clipper system moving in right behind it for parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. This would likely be a light to moderate snow event that moves through the area. That system is then forecast to move into the Northeast on Sunday, the 7th, and into Monday, the 8th, bringing snow to areas where that cold air remains firmly in place. Almost immediately following that, on the 8th and 9th, another clipper system moves right through the region. As a general rule, these are typically lighter to moderate snowfall events. In fact, they are often on the lighter side, so we would anticipate accumulations of mostly 3 to 6 inches at the most from these types of systems. On occasion, a stronger one can produce 6 to 10 inches, but they are not typically what we consider major snowstorms. A slightly more potent system then begins to move in for Tuesday. It is truly remarkable how we have one clipper and then another one right behind it.
They are arriving in such a rapid sequence. This next one appears to bring moderate to heavy snowfall for parts of the Plains, Midwest, and the Great Lakes. It then tracks to a position just off the mid-Atlantic coast, where these systems can sometimes re-intensify into a nor'easter and bring much heavier snowfall. While that does not happen in this particular forecast run, it certainly does remain a possibility.
It is certainly close to becoming one. Then we get another heavier clipper system for the Plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. And this one does move into the Northeast as a heavier snow system with some low pressure offshore. So we do have some variables, but there are probably a good 4 clipper systems here over the next 2 weeks on this particular model run, and even another one setting up here.
That could bring the total to 5 systems for the Plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. This last one also looks as though it could become quite interesting for the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. Of course, this is very far out in the forecast, so we must look at it with a degree of caution. However, the overall trend is one of continuous snow events and persistent, seemingly never-ending cold air. We should also mention that the threat of thunderstorms and severe weather on the southern side of these systems will likely occur from time to time throughout December, which is a bit unusual for this time of year. Now let's compare this to the GFS model, starting with the major system we are currently tracking. I will advance the map here to the latest forecast, and what we are seeing happen is this system moves through the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. As you will notice, the GFS model places the storm a little farther to the north. The low pressure center is also slightly stronger, down to 988 millibars, telling us it has more energy. Because this track is much closer to the coast, many areas in the Mid-Atlantic and southern New England would have more of a struggle with mixed precipitation. As we move on from that system, we see a clipper bringing some snowfall to the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. The model then attempts to develop another snow system around the 5th and 6th of the month, but this one tracks much farther to the south, affecting North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula, the District of Columbia, and Maryland into southern New Jersey with snowfall, with some lighter amounts reaching farther into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. After that, we see the more progressive clipper systems begin to move through. However, this first one tracks well to the north, as you can see, so we do not get that second event. This reveals a very different overall weather pattern compared to the European model, which brought those systems through a bit farther to the north. With this particular atmospheric flow, the GFS model shows a dip in the jet stream, which we call a trough, out in the west. This pattern tends to guide storms up through the Midwest and the Great Lakes, which could result in heavier snow systems for those areas. Indeed, this model does forecast multiple major snowstorms with this setup, which also features a ridge of high pressure in the southeast. Towards the end of the forecast period, the pattern does shift back to a ridge in the west and a trough in the east, so there is some inconsistency there for us to watch. We will examine the temperatures in just a moment, but first let's look at the total precipitation forecast from the European model. The southwest remains very dry while the northwest is relatively active. The most surprising feature is the activity along the southern jet stream. This creates an area of above average precipitation across the entire model run. To summarize, we are seeing average to above average moisture as this southern stream funnels activity directly up the east coast. Also noteworthy is the clear signature of the Clipper track, which brings average to above average precipitation to those northern regions as well. Now let us turn our attention to total snowfall. The European model is forecasting a decent amount of snowfall for the mountainous west. The Cascades and Rockies, in particular, look to be near average for this time of year. The forecast is a bit less impressive for the Sierra Nevada mountains. However, as we look to the plains, the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast, it is obviously a very active snowfall pattern, with multiple feet of total snow possible over the next couple of weeks for some locations. This is an extremely active outlook. The GFS model tells a slightly different story. Let me just update the map to ensure we have the complete forecast run. There we are. While there is still plenty of snowfall, the distribution of it looks quite different. We also see a significant difference out west, where the GFS model forecasts highly above average snowfall for the mountains, compared to the near average amounts from the European model. That is a substantial disagreement that we will be watching closely. Looking at the temperatures on the European model, we have an Arctic blast arriving for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, followed by a more major one for the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Then another major cold wave rolls in for the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Yet another may arrive around the 11th through the 15th, with a potential 5th blast on the way at the very end of the forecast period. As you can see, the pattern is quite clear. It is going to be very, very cold. We are looking at multiple Arctic blasts over the next couple of weeks on this particular model. The GFS is going to be similar at times, showing 1, then 2, then 3 surges of cold air. And then, as we look further ahead, we see a warmer pattern beginning to develop in the east after the 10th of the month. This has been a very consistent trend on the American GFS model, showing that sometime between the 8th and the 12th, a warmer pattern will begin for the east, while a colder pattern settles in out west. This is quite different from what the European model is forecasting. This new pattern on the GFS model is expected to last for quite some time, signaling a potential change is on the way. The European model, however, shows no immediate end to this cold spell. Therefore, we will have to monitor the situation closely to see which of these outcomes will prove correct. The combined guidance from both of these models is in agreement for the near future, showing cold in the east and warmth in the west from November 30th through December 10th. The American GFS model generally concurs with this short-term forecast. So, for this time frame, we have excellent agreement between the models. But as we look further out, from the 6th through the 16th, the American models clearly show some warmer air beginning to enter the east. The European models, on the other hand, are not showing this. For the period from the 5th through the 15th, they continue to forecast warmer than normal conditions out west and very cold weather persisting in the east. This gives you a complete picture of the differing professional outlooks. Both models present very different scenarios once we look beyond the 10th of the month, which is understandable. Typically, about 10 days into a forecast is when you begin to see these major disagreements. This is a classic situation in meteorology, but please be assured we will get to the bottom of it for you. With that information shared, that is all for this video. I do hope you will subscribe to our channel. You can also click the bell icon to receive daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss an important update. Please be sure to like the video if you found it helpful. I always enjoy reading your thoughts, so please leave a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you again in our next video.